I moved in with a high bourgeois, low-income family my aunt had heard about. Monsieur was tall and gaunt, with a big nose and a black felt pork pie hat. In his pocket, he kept a pendu, which he whipped out at the start of meals to test the victuals. If it swung to the right, all was well. But if it swung to the left, Madame had to get him something else to eat. Looking at me, he would say, "La petite Américaine has left the lights on and used up all the money we saved for beefsteak." Every day, everybody in the apartment had somewhere to go, except Madame, and she always asked me if I wanted déjeuner. But I was afraid that if I had lunch with her, I'd have to talk to her. So I fled. I ran for the elevator, which came up on long exposed cables, and I would look at the floors and the stairs through its iron filigree cage as we descended. And then, at the bottom, I would buzz my way out of the heavy concierge's door. And on Mondays and Wednesdays, I took the metro to Montmartre to my art class. There was a rickety wood stove that burned next to the model, but the rest of us had to wear wool hats and blow on our hands. Other days, I took the metro to the left bank. I would stroll down the Boulevard Saint-Germain until I came to just the right to back, where I would buy a package of blue Gauloise filtres. I didn't know how to inhale, but I thought that smoking Gauloise, I was joining the world of depressed artists and suffering writers. My first stop was always the Café Flore. I would look around, frayed with indecision over what to order. Let's see, that girl in blue jeans is having croissants. But these men in business suits are having soup. Oh, and that girl over there with a dog under her table is having a Campari soda and a croque monsieur. Somebody's joining her. They're kissing. Garçon, I think I'll have a Campari soda and a croque monsieur. I pretended that it was breakfast because I'd been up all night. I arranged myself as I imagined a very sophisticated French woman would. I opened a copy of the fashionable journal Canard Enchaîné, and I pretended that friends were going to join me soon. I noticed that the Canard Enchaîné was upside down. Across the street, at the Deux Magots, I arranged my face to appear annoyed and at the same time patient, to indicate that somebody was keeping me waiting, but I didn't care because I needed the time alone. I ordered an omelet and a salad and a glass of white wine because the lady at the next table did, and she was with a very attractive man in a black turtleneck sweater and dark glasses. I had this idea that if I ate and drank what other people ate and drank, I would become them. At the Café Camembert, I relentlessly watched the man in the tweed jacket reading the Herald Tribune. I wonder if he notices that I'm having a petit pain au chocolat and a café au lait just the way he is. My mother once told me that when she was a girl in Paris, she loved to eat petit pain au chocolat. I wonder if eating this now, something she liked to eat, will bring her close to me. But I don't really like petit pain au chocolat. I think it's my unfavorite kind of pastry. I don't think it's going to bring my mother back to me. And I don't think it's going to bring the man in the tweed jacket over to my table. There's a boat that's leaving soon for New York. Come with me. The trouble with literary dinner parties is nobody ever says anything important. You know, Kurt Vonnegut is there and nobody even asks him what he thinks about suicide. Do you know what I mean? I expect people are going to treat me a great deal better at literary cocktail parties when they hear about the huge advance I got for my new novel. Also, it's a movie option. Don't believe anything you hear until you see the check. Oh, I hear the industry's committing suicide. Speaking of which, I was playing golf at the Maidstone the other day, and when I got to the 14th green, there was a man stretched out next to his golf bag, and on the 15th tee, there were 3 men teeing off. I hate to say it, but I knew 2 of them. Well, I have the best idea for a story about sloths. They're perfect for city living. They don't drink. They only eat lettuce, and they poop dry little turds once a day. Would you like some more souffle? You can hang them up in the closet, and you can wear them as a fur stole. Do they bite? Oh, I don't think so. I met one once in Guatemala. It was quite peaceable. I was traveling with this archaeologist who was into saving history, but I was looking for some sacred secret of the Mayans. The army shot at us. The grave robbers shot at us. I remember what Churchill said. The most exhilarating thing in life is to be shot at without result. Doesn't that sound just like money? Hello? Oh, I'm glad you like dinner. You know, the thing is, I feel like all I do is cook for writers and producers, but I just never get anywhere with my own career. Call Aunt Mary. What a good idea, I will. In Palm Beach, where the Tao of dinner was practically invented, pink tablecloths and gardenias bloom in the light of the full moon to the music of Lester Lannan. I lived with my aunt, the Queen of Palm Beach, and I wore borrowed diamonds on TV with a security guard behind the camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, testing. This is Bobo in the celebrity room with Peter Duchin and his orchestra. And here's Bing Crosby with his golf clubs. And George Abbott with his new play. And tonight we have Mrs. Marjorie Merriweather Post in her dirndl to tell us about her weekly square dances. We live in a tropical palace guarded by vicious Dobermans, and every night I had to run from the car to the front door to avoid being torn to pieces. After the first week, the chef put a padlock on the refrigerator because he thought that I had been eating the dinner party leftovers. Honey, you're looking awfully sad tonight. Is there anything wrong? You're feeling kind of stuck? What kind of stuck? Oh, you think that when people have been together for a while, they need a little more space? Well, all right, like a little less cheek to cheek and a little more cha-cha-cha. Was there anything I can do? I could learn to listen. I do listen. Sometimes I listen all the time. I do nothing but listen. I just love spas. I never have to speak to anyone. All I do is starve and exercise. I mean, it's perfect and it's so peaceful. Oh, could I just have black coffee and grapefruit juice for breakfast? I don't want to go to any meals. I want all the exercise classes. Extra swimming, extra yoga, and an herbal wrap every day. Alice, you know, I want to integrate the 2 sides of my life. I want to bring my spiritual life and my work life together. I think I'll put spirituality on TV. Why? Because it matters to me. I mean, I just don't want to give dinner parties for the rest of my life. Why not? Because I believe that life is about the integration of phenomenal reality and spirituality. It's not about running a restaurant. The Kathmandu airport buzzed with private jets. The king had had all the dogs trucked to the country to clear the streets. And the elephants had had their toenails lacquered red. Can you imagine how much toenail polish that took? I went to the hairdresser to have my hair done, and a yak leaned right through the door and ate the queen's coronation wig. I went to this dance that friends of mine gave at the Yak and Yeti bar on the outskirts of Kathmandu. I danced with the king of Sikkim, and I fell in love with this Englishman who agreed to meet me next week in Kuala Lumpur. When the party was over, I looked for a ride home. "Oh, no problem. You'll find a taxi at the corner," said a diplomat, leaping into his car. Hours later, as I hobbled into town, holding the chewed hem of my chiffon caftan and my gold high-heeled sandals, huge shadows loomed in the occasional circle of a street light. There were no cars, deserted streets, and my bare feet on the ground in some Nepalese suburb. The next day, I met my friend Harold, who translates Tibetan texts, at the Tibetan noodle shop for tea. "Harold, you know I've come all the way up to this Himalayan peak and I'm still depressed. Do you know what I mean?" Buddhism teaches you to deal with suffering. Well, I don't think I suffer exactly. I'm going to take you to see a Tibetan Lama. Dujum Rinpoche gave us tea and grapes, and he told me the whole history of Bodhnath. That's that temple with all the prayer flags and the big eyes that you always see on postcards from Nepal. How could he possibly have known that I spent the whole morning there? After that, I couldn't hear anything. I just kind of floated around the ceiling. "Harold, I think that the Lama put LSD in our tea. I'm having an out-of-body experience." "Bo, you've met a powerful spiritual being, and you're feeling it. Then let's go up to his monastery tomorrow." The next day, we hiked up to this Tibetan monastery, and we entered this long, narrow room lined with huge copper butter lamps like witches' cauldrons. Tiny monks took us to piles of carpets on which to sit, and the Lama was sitting in a huge brocade throne wrapped in maroon and yellow robes. It was very peaceful, filled with gentle shadows and just a whisper of incense. We had dinner in the light of a Coleman lantern. Nettle soup and yellow cabbage and meat. "Rinpoche, it's so wonderful being here. Thank you so much." Silence. "Rinpoche, how's your family?" "Rinpoche, could you tell us about Kali Yuga and the dregs of time?" Harold, sensing my distress, said, "Rinpoche, say something." Silence. It was a dinner party at which no one spoke, my worst nightmare. After the little monklets carried away the bowls, the atmosphere changed, and the Lama started to speak.